Hello everyone and welcome to week 6. Today we are going to convert the contact repository into using the Entity Framework as per the lessons in the Treehouse. So as always you can see this branch at WED-week-6 and you can see what I'll end up with at WED-week-6-done. So first of all, let's just make sure our project still works as before. So everything looks good there. So as part of this, before we switch over, we're going to go over here, and you have your Contacto database, and we're going to start from scratch. So we're going to go ahead, and if you may or may not have this table, go ahead and delete, and then I'll ask you to update database. Actually, something I'm going to do is, just to make it maybe a little bit easier, we're going to bring the resolution down a bit. Okay. Keep changes. So hopefully it'll be a little more clear. Alright, so again, we're going to drop all the tables here. So you can just hit delete, and then it'll generate script, and you just click update database, it will drop it. Okay. So we need to add, actually the first thing we need to do is go to NuGet, and that's right click on references, manage NuGet packages, and Entity Framework, it's the third one there, but I'll go ahead and search for it. This one with about 30 million downloads. And this basically does a lot of the SQL for you. So you're going to click on I accept. Click yes there if it asks you. Okay, so we have our Entity Framework installed. Now as part of this, we need to create a configuration setting to actually store the connection string. So I'm going to go over here to my end project, and I'm just going to copy that over. And I'm just going to paste that between this and this. And so I've named it contact repository. The connection string is very similar to what we used before. The only difference is I remove that slash. And I'll go ahead and just show that. So if we go down here and we copy this here, and then I paste this here, need to remove that. So again, the same database we're using before. My MS, if you're different from this for some reason, then change that appropriately. And then over here is provider name. Oops. Provider name equals system.data.sql client. That means we're using the SQL server to connect to it. And so this is now configuration, and we'll see where we actually use this here in a minute. So go ahead and save this file. Now let's go to our home controller, and what we're going to do is we're going to take all this code here, and we're going to put it in its own file, because it's starting to get a little more complex. So I'm just going to copy it all. Actually, I'm going to cut it. Then we'll go to Solution Explorer. We don't need that now. And I'm going to create a new folder called repositories. Then I'm going to add a new class called contact repository. And where it says public class contact repository, I'm just going to paste that one there. Now you'll notice right now you get a whole bunch of, so go ahead and we'll fix those. Add the using. We actually don't need this anymore, so we'll delete that. And it's going to have some errors here, but the first thing we're going to do is db context. This is what the base class for Entity Framework is. So when you're using it, that's going to make it happy. And then I'm going to do public contact repository, parentheses, and then I'm going to call the base, which this is the base class, and I'm going to pass it in contact repository, which is the name of that web config value. So this right here, it'll match up on this and use this connection string via the name mapping. Okay. And then we're just going to get rid of all of this using. Okay. Then we are going to go up here at the top, and we're going to define public db set of type contact, and I'm just going to call it contacts, and I'm going to add my getter and setter. Okay, so here's the insert, and so we're going to do contacts dot. I got to change this. We're actually just going to get rid of all of this. Dot add contact, and then we're going to call this, which is a keyword to represent this class, which is inherited from that. Save changes, and we can just delete this line. Okay. Now over at get contact, we are going to write a little bit of link. So from x contact, I'll keep it nice and clean. From contact in contacts, select contact. So that'll get all the contacts. We want to add a where clause, where contact.id equals ID, and then we're going to get the first one. Return. So this is going to automatically generate SQL that looks very similar to this, but this gives us safety if we accidentally type in a wrong character. So if, I put here, it'll tell me, something's wrong. And if I messed up here, it'll tell me something's wrong. But when we were writing just raw SQL, we wouldn't get that until we actually ran it. Now of note, if you pass in an ID that doesn't exist in the contacts table, it will error. We'll work on that later, getting the error conditions done. Okay. And finally, we can delete this, and we can do this dot entry contact dot state equals so what we're saying here is, and this is the case, this contact, we're going to essentially attach it to the db set entry, and we're going to set the state to modified, and we're going to call it to save changes. Okay, so that's all we need to do here. So let's go over this class a little bit. So we're inheriting, that's what this first character means here, from the db context, which is an entity class, keeping the same name here. db set is equivalent to our tables. So we have a table contact, and this will automatically create the contacts table if we need it. That's why I had to delete that table earlier. This is the default constructor, and we're going to use the connection string in the web config called contact repository. And then we simply replaced all of our functions we had before we were doing raw SQL into using the db set contact. So add a contact, save the changes, get contact. So for each contact in contacts, find where ID equals ID, and then return it, and return the first one. Normally this returns a list, but we only ever want one. Finally, edit, so call entry, and set the state manually to modified, and save changes. Okay, so if we go over here, we're going to have some errors here because we are going to wipe out this. So we're going to do using var repo equals new contact repository hover over this. It'll give you the nice little using. And we'll replace that with repo. Awesome. Okay. And we'll go down here and do the same. Using var repo equals new contact repository. Repo.context. Now this context is a DB set, and this view context is expecting a list. So we'll just call to list to make it happy. Same thing over here, using var repo equals new contact repository. And again, repo. And using var repo equals new contact repository. Repo. Let's build. Build succeeded. Let's go ahead and run it. Nothing here. Let's add a contact. Roger Moore. Let's try to edit a contact. 2, 3, 4. Edit contact. Oh. I must have forgot to change. Yep, this right here. So let's go ahead and add the to list. Scan through here. Yep, it's all good. View contacts. Let's edit. Roger Moore 1, 2, 3, 4. Edit contact. Ah, something's not editing here. Let's go look at the code. Stop it. Our edit contact, we're not actually doing editing here. So let's go to repo.edit contact. Apologies, it's this one here. View contacts, edit, 1, 2, 3, 4. Sure. That changed, and we'll just go to about, and we'll go back. Yep. So everything's working as expected. So I'll go ahead and close that. And now we're left here pretty clean. Now one thing you could do to make this more advanced is actually add the delete. And I'll leave that up as an exercise to the reader. So thank you very much.